So here we are, another day. Welcome to the podcast. So today we're going to talk about civilians, the big
Yes.
launch this week.
Yeah, we're going to circle back to civilians and go across a couple of questions that people have been asking regularly in Discord and on Facebook and a couple other social medias. Because some people aren't really too sure about what's going on.
Right.
Mm.
Casey has a pretty good video explaining it also. So we
Hmm.
might want to tag him on when about that.
Yeah,
Um,
of course. I think this is kind of like a frequently asked questions,
sure, sure.
and then as well a couple of different points that we haven't spoken about yet, and some strategies as well.
Okay, all right. So
Hmm.
how do we get civilians?
Right. So there's two different screens on the website. So if you're familiar with Sidroids, we have the raid management, and we also have the civilians page. So when you go into where you find profile, resources, Hollow Buildings editor, keep going down and you'll find raid management.
Yes,
So this is where we synthesize our civilians.
right,
And so you go raid management tab, and then you go to properties tab, and you'll be looking to find a property that has side roads on it,
right.
because you
Easier,
can't yeah, you
right.
can't use civilians without side roads.
No.
That's a no-brainer.
It's easier. It's easier to just if you just type in the property name. So when you
Yes,
go to properties in the search bar, just type in the property name, and that property will come up.
mm,
And then you hit the little arrow on the side and click the synthesize civilians, and that screen will pop up, and you pick out how many you want to synthesize.
that's right. So the next question that a lot of people have been asking is, what do civilians do?
Very good question. What do they do?
Hmm.
So,
So with this rating aspect of Earth 2, civilians are there in the first edition to automate rating functions. So currently we have a selection of three that we can synthesize. Two are coming. You have Ether Reckoner, I should say.
right.
Ether Reckoner is the civilian that will automatically dispense after you have rated a property. So you won't have to dispense, it will do that for you.
Right.
And then we have the side road technician, which will automatically charge your side roads.
Yes.
And the third one is the raid commander, which will automatically raid for you. And we're going to go over how to do that and some strategies as well.
Sure. Sure.
Hmm.
So, um, so the ether manager,
Hmm.
it automatically dispenses ether, but you can also choose if it does that when the side droids are full or
Mm-hmm.
when they come back with any kind of ether in them. So,
Mm. Yes,
and
correct.
right, and then the technician, the side droid technician, will automatically charge up your side droids. That actually comes in very handy.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So,
I like how you called it the ether manager. That's very professional. um so okay, the next question that people have asked is, I've synthesized civilians. How do I get them to work? So I think if you haven't tested them on stage two, this is a good one. And I know some people don't have a stage 2 account, and that's fine.
Right.
So the first two, which is Ether Reckoner, which will automatically dispense your Ether, all you have to do is synthesize them, and then every time you raid, it will actually come up with a little timer on your raid section where you go to. So that's where on the map you go raid, and then after you've raided, you'll see a little timer. And now, if you have a level 1 Ether Reckoner, it will take 2 hours before it will start dispensing.
Right.
Same thing with the side road technician as well. So um, the strategy that we're going to go over shortly will kind of give you an idea of how to speed up that process so it doesn't take 2 hours.
Sure.
And the raid commander. So this one's the tricky one that I think some people are still trying to figure out.
Right.
When you go into a property, you go to raid, and then there is a couple of new features that they've added that need to be uh, basically tinkered with before they will start to automatically raid. So you have underneath select a property to raid, you'll have search properties with filters there that you can filter your targets by.
Right.
And then there's a new section that says auto target properties for raid commander. So
Right.
this is the key part to getting that raid commander to work for you.
Right.
It'll have an edit button. You click on that, and then it shows you your favorites icons that it will need for you to set. So with a level 1 raid commander, you can only target the white love heart.
Okay.
And as your raid commander gets more experience, which we're going to talk about in a second, they'll be able to raid multiple favorite icons.
Right.
So it's important that for all of your rating properties that you've already built side roads on and you've been favoriting the targets that have been returning successfully,
Right.
it's important to set that icon because
Right.
otherwise you won't get any auto rating.
Right.
So,
So in the property in the side droid rating menu, okay,
mm,
you have that edit button there.
mm,
And so um you got to take and click that edit button and add the heart there.
yes, correct. It's not there
Okay.
by default.
Right. You have to add the heart there.
Yeah.
Then you go to your side droid and you go to the properties of your side droid, and then you've got to add it to that point too.
If you haven't already
Hmm.
favorited a property, and you also have to have rated it as well.
Right.
So it, initially, we all thought that you had to go and manually raid that property first
Uh-huh.
in the civilians management menu. But if you have recently raided, the first target icon, so this is the little love heart on the
Right.
recent list. So that will continually just raid the one property at a level 1 commander.
Okay.
And then, sorry, the you can actually have the other icons, but it will only target one icon. So most
Right.
people have been using the white love heart anyway,
Right.
and that will take 2 hours for that timer to run down, and then it will automatically raid for you.
Right. Now I have a strategy on that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So,
Hmm. Yes, I have a couple as well.
okay.
Um, so then I think that covers how it works specifically. So I've
Hmm.
got everything set up for me now, and it was fantastic. I woke up, albeit my phone was not charged,
Right.
um, and I had about 60 notifications. So I hadn't quite set all of my icons just yet because it is a little bit of work. But I had about 60 notifications. So my my raid commander, which synthesized last night, had been doing his job, which was fantastic.
Good. Yes.
How about you? Did you have yours
Yeah.
cracking?
I didn't. All mine are synthesized now, except
Hmm.
for some new ones that I just started. But I hadn't set up the auto rating yet.
Okay.
I did. As I'm certain that things have changed in my account. Some properties that were really doing well, all
Hmm.
have dropped off on me. So I've had to
Yeah.
re uh, reassess
Hmm.
some of my rating properties because yeah, some people have come back since things have changed, and so
Yes. Hmm. I mean, it is something that people might tune into and start to get interest in when they think that they can set up a system on their Earth 2 account, which will give them more ether in the long term.
right.
So people may not have been tuning in, but we'll soon see, I guess. But the next question is, can I
Yes.
raid multiple properties with multiple side roads?
So
Do you know the answer to
okay.
this one?
With multiple, you can choose how many side droids you wish, but I don't know that you can take and raid multiple properties. Like for example, let's say I have a full load of side droids on one property, and I want to divide them up and take and trade and send five to one property and five to another. I don't know that you could do that, and I wasn't on the stage two, so you're gonna have to fill me in on that one.
Sure. So with this feature particularly, you can do it, but I wouldn't do it for the simple reason that when you go into civilian management, you can pick and choose which properties you want certain side roads to raid.
Okay.
But the reason why I don't suggest it is because the difference in times at which distance from a different property. So if you're sending, say, five side roads to five different properties, the distance to get from them and back is going to be completely different. Now, what that means is the time is going to be different and they're not all going to come back at the same time. They're not going to be dispensing at the same time and they're probably not going to be charging at the same time. So that timer with your civilians in automatically dispensing and automatically charging is it's not gonna work. Does that
Ah,
make sense?
yes, it does. And
Hmm.
now I just realized something because I was going through the raid commanders, and I noticed on each side droid you could select an icon, a property
Hmm.
icon, or
Hmm.
their favorites icon. So that's what you're
Yes.
saying. So if I put five on the heart icon, heart favorite, which is a property that I wanted to raid, then
Hmm.
those five would go to that one, and you put the bird on the other one, and the other ones.
Hmm.
Okay, all
Hmm.
right, nice. Okay,
Yeah. If you get your civilians, so your ether reckoner, side road technician, and raid commander, up to level 6, that
right.
time will only take 5 minutes. So essentially, that is a possibility. My suggestion would be to have all the different target icons, and as your raid commander improves their level,
Right.
then you set up those different icons. So then they will basically go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and
Okay.
then if
So keep all your
realistically,
side droid, yeah. So keep all your side droids together, but set up multiple properties to hit.
yeah,
Correct.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah,
So yeah,
and
yeah.
because your dispense cycle will only take 2.5 hours. And if your civilians are at max level, that will be 15 minutes for all of them to execute those things automatically. So essentially, it would be 2 hours and 45 minutes per successful raid that would just cycle through. So when you consider that across a full day, you would be looking at about 7 to 8 raids
Right.
that it could automatically do for you. So if you've got 8 targets, that's ideal. Once they're all leveled up. I mean, some people have been getting quite a number of returns. I've seen anywhere up to I think the largest I saw was about 8,000 ether, and that was from Tellus in Dorkslayer.
Wow.
So I imagine that's what he's doing, is rating multiple targets, maybe not with different side droids, but just all in the same one.
Right.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a busy boy.
Oh yeah, that's a full day's worth of work.
Oh,
Now, if
absolutely.
if Essence was worth $1, when you break that down,
Hmm.
6.5% of 8,000 ether. Yeah, that's a full day's work.
That's a pretty fair chunk of change too.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, next question. How do I get
Good
XP?
experience. Yes.
Yes. Well, it's not just a metaphorical thing. So 1 XP is equal to 0.01 dispensed ether. So I'll give you an example,
Okay.
right? If you have Sidroid's rating a property and it returns 10 ether, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
That is going to be 1000 XP. So I believe that they did change the XP required for level 2. It was 3000, but now I believe it is 1000. I could be wrong. Let me
No, it
just
is.
check.
It's 1,000.
Yeah. So
1,000. Yeah. 1,000
to
for level 1 and 4,000 for level 2.
yeah.
Um, there. Okay.
So they probably need to update that one because that was on the announcement. But I imagine, since what we're looking at now is a soft launch on the live site,
Uh-huh.
which means that they haven't set up an announcement that is like, how do we get XP?
Right.
So there's 2 ways. If you raid manually without the automated side happening with the civilians, you still get XP.
Right.
So what that means is a lot of people are manually raiding whilst they still have civilians in order to speed up that leveling up process. So then their automation is a lot quicker. So
Yes.
between waiting 2 hours for each civilian to perform its task, which is charging, dispensing, and raiding, and then on top of that, the 2.5 hour period in which you're waiting for it to dispense, that it looks like about 8.5 hours between raids.
Right.
And so leveling it up will give you that shorter time frame. So level 2 is 90 minutes per civilian, level 3 is 60 minutes, so on and so forth.
Right.
So there is some benefit to leveling up your civilians.
Yes.
It depends as well too, depending on how many targets you're able to automatically raid, because some targets may not have enough daily to be able to give you a solid return, and your side droid may just get stuck anyway.
Right. Well,
So yeah.
that's something that I was going to talk about on strategies, is because
Mm.
I do
Yeah,
have,
we could talk about that.
yeah, yeah, I have properties that are in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's
so
how you can level your civilians faster, which was
right,
the next question.
right.
Now let's
Just
talk about. You go. Sorry.
no, I was just saying, yeah, you don't worry about trying to auto raid with your don't try and automate your civilians right now. Just continue doing manual raiding until you get up to level. Because like I've got all my side droids are almost to level 4 already because
Okay.
I've been manually raiding and not using the automated, and so I'm able to cycle through. Well, like I said, 6, 7 times a day. So
You've been a busy boy.
yeah. Well, every time I get a chance to take a break, and it's been 2.5 hours since they've dispensed, I take and pop in there and launch them again. So,
Yeah, I did like the timing of dispensing. That worked really well for me because
uh-huh,
when I was at work, most of my breaks would take, there'd be 3 hours apart. And by the time I get on break, it's ready to go again.
right,
It's really quite handy, but when you have too many side roads, you almost can't get all of those done in 10,
right,
15 minutes.
right,
Okay, so wandering. So there's a bit of confusion about the wandering piece. So
right,
a lot of people are saying things like, can I just uh, turn off my civilians because they're not getting any returns on that property, to avoid wandering, because that's going to cost you a recurring red energy fee, which is weekly.
right.
So wandering is when you don't have enough red energy to be able to sustain that civilian. We know red energy is what we get from successful rating, and it is 1 to 1 of how
Right.
much ether we get.
Quick question.
Sure.
Um, I did not see, or I have not seen, where the red energy is tagged to an individual property, and so that
Correct.
I'm assuming that the regardless of whether a civilian's on a property that's producing or not, as long as you are producing enough red energy throughout, it would be okay. So I'm
Yes.
saying it doesn't need to have red energy from that property that it's on to stay there. You just
Correct.
need enough red energy in your account for them
Yes.
all to stay. Okay.
Yes. So this is the part that you have to be very careful of when you're synthesizing your civilians, that you
Hmm.
don't synthesize too many that aren't going to give you a successful returns.
Right.
So as a bare minimum in total, you want to average at least 1.75 to 2 ether per day per property that you have civilians in order to sustain them,
Okay.
because it will be it's 4 ether per civilian. So each property you have 3 civilians on will cost you 12 red energy per week.
Per week. Right.
Yes. So you'll need to raid successfully 12 ether and 12 red energy per week to be able to sustain them. So a lot of us have got a big bank of red energy already.
Right.
But is that sustainable? You really have to check your daily rewards notification, and that will
Right.
tell you how much you get daily.
Sure.
And then there's a little bit of math there. So let's just say, for example, you have 100 properties with 3 civilians. That's going to be 1,200 red energy
A week.
per week.
Right.
So on average, you divide that up by how much you are going to need daily.
Right.
Uh, is your maths any good? I'm trying to think how much that is.
Okay. So
You go
well,
1,200 divided by 7. Hang on, let me just type that in.
right.
I'm still waking up.
That's quite all right.
So it's about 172 ether per day. So if your rewards notification
Right.
isn't showing you 100 and above 172 for 100 properties with civilians, rinse and repeat that in with some different numbers there. Yeah, you're basically going to have civilians who are going to start wandering around, and it's going to be random. It's not specific
Right.
to where they will start wandering. You'll just have them drop off from random properties, which you don't want because,
It could be
well,
one of your producing properties that they leave.
precisely. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
better off. You're better off taking in only trying to only sensitizing civilians on a limited number of properties
Mm,
that you know are producing,
Yes, correct.
instead of just wholesale producing civilians in all your properties, because
Yes.
you're going to end up running, you're going to end up losing.
Yes, that's right. So even though the side roads cost you more when it comes to essence, your civilians are going to be a bit more rarer. So that's because people aren't mass producing in the same way that side roads were. Because side roads you could just leave depowered and it's a non-issue. It's
Right,
like leaving a car in a garage, I suppose.
right.
So yeah, let's talk about the rarity. So people were reporting different things on stage two, saying that certain factions were rarer than others.
Okay.
Um,
I haven't
in
seen
my
that.
what's your experience with it?
So, I've got all three factions that they're
Yes,
producing. Okay.
same.
Although Space Force does seem to be more prevalent
Mm,
than rebels or Egyptian gods. Now,
mm,
so Space Force came up is I've got the most on Space Force. The next
mm-hmm,
is Egyptian gods, and
mm-hmm.
then the rebel faction. So
Sure.
yeah, so I've only got 24 civilians,
Mm,
and 12 of the 24 are Space Force. So half of them are Space Force. And then I've got let's see, I think it was seven of the Egyptian gods, and then
mm,
the remainder was the rebel faction. So if there is any kind of rarity in there, I think
mm.
that's the order.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at mine now, and the Space Force seems to be more common. And then, like you're saying, the rebels and then the Egyptians, which is strange. I would have thought it would have been even. Um, so be curious to see why they've done it like that.
Huh.
Maybe Space Force was. Oh no, it was in the law. The Egyptians were the first ones that they discovered.
Right.
Hmm.
That's
Interesting.
maybe he forgot.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, so these are first edition civilians as well.
Right. And so they are going to change. And so
Mm.
they may change that up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's got first edition as a skin.
Right.
So when you think about things like, you know, Fortnite and different number of multiplayer games, they have skins which are basically what they look like. It's like
Right.
an avatar, I suppose.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to know what that's all about, and also I think we spoke. I spoke to Shane a little bit about on Discord or on Twitter or something about what the deal was with factions because we're all getting them randomly, like we're talking about now,
Right.
and
And you can't
we
trade them.
not yet, no,
And
but
so,
that will be a future feature. So, for example, if I wanted to collect all Egyptians, then I mean, potentially it'd sell the
right.
other factions that I have and then buy other people's Egyptians. So there'll be some incentive for people to trade and collect, I suppose. But whether
Right.
there'll be any benefit to that is another story.
Yeah, I don't, that's another question uh,
Mm.
is there going to be added benefit uh, from one faction versus the other?
Mm. See, I would have preferred to pick a faction
Right.
instead of just getting random ones. Kind of like I don't know. Have you played any strategy games like Command and Conquer or what's the other one?
No.
No.
The only well, I used to play war games, bookshelf war
Yeah,
games,
yeah, like
Battle of the
Age of
Bulge.
Empires or something.
Yeah. Well, these were before video games, so.
Ah, tabletop games.
Yeah, yes, they were.
Okay.
Anyway, but anyway, you had, and it was based upon World War II, so you picked which side you were going to take and do. But I
Hmm.
did do Age of Empires, and then also World of Warships. But you don't
Hmm.
really have factions or anything like that within that. So
Hmm.
I'm not
It's
sure about.
funny you mentioned before video games because that made me think of like Warhammer 40K or even just Warhammer.
Uh-huh.
Does that sound familiar? Have you ever played that before?
I have not.
It's like they're like little figurines and you basically build an army. And this is why I mention it because I think that would interest a lot of people to be able to pick and choose which faction that they would have. And each different, I guess, army, or it would be like a breed or some sort of alliance to
Okay.
something. And each one would have different pros and cons or abilities or weaknesses and strengths and things like that.
Okay. Well, I could say I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and so
Okay.
you got the same concepts, and
Yeah.
depending upon whether you're a human, an elf, an orc, or
Mm,
whatever.
yeah.
And so each one has different abilities and attributes that are enhanced. So
Mm, yeah.
so
That would have been interesting to see. But anyway, they I think maybe this isn't the main focus for the ecosim for now.
right.
So that might be something that they'll adapt to later. But they're talking about that as well. They're as first edition, what does that mean? Is it going to be rarer, like worth more, like tier one tiles? They're going to have more benefits. I know they mentioned that for now, side droids are easier to build than what they will be in the future. So it's not just going to be essence. You spend the essence and then you get the side droid. There's going to be some other factor into that.
Right.
So a civilian is going to be like that as well. I don't think so. I think the law basically states that it's just either maybe some research or something might be involved there. Who knows?
Yeah, probably later on down. Um, yeah, I don't know why they did the randomness on the. They should have allowed you to pick a faction,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh.
Well. So because I mean there isn't no special ability that we know of at this
No.
moment between
Mm.
Space Force, between the Egyptian gods and rebels. So
Mm.
uh,
That might even become a feature with the. I think there's a research lab. I think is one of the ecosim buildings.
right, yes.
That might come down to that, like a some sort of DNA feature where you can research DNA strands or something.
Yeah,
Which,
well, I mean, they've got jewels for that, so apparently
mm,
it's going to be able to do that somewhere down the road, you know.
yeah, that's right.
Um,
So the next thing as well, which actually leads into it, genders.
right,
So they've all got a little icon at the front of their name,
right,
but they're all male.
right.
So when females?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Or maybe they're non-gender.
Oh, I don't know. I think that little icon kind of speaks for itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't have it open, so I'm not looking at the icon. So
Oh, yeah. So you can edit their name, obviously, and
right,
some people
yes.
have been calling them funny things like, "Oh, there's no female gender." Oh, wait, yes, there is. I just called this one Rachel. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, every single one in that civilians tab under civilian management, they all have the male icon in front of their name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, not
Well,
really too
see how much
sure.
I've been paying attention to their names?
Well, yeah. I mean, there is some sort of naming convention there that they've used.
Right,
Um, like RC1 is rating commander, SF is Space Force, etc., etc.
right.
But this gender thing, I'm thinking along the lines of similar to Axie Infinity. So if you've ever played Axie Infinity, you can get these little axes, which is the basis of the game,
Okay.
and you can actually breed them with other axes
Oh, okay.
to create new axes.
Oh, oh, that sounds, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, PG, obviously, not.
Right. No, I was just thinking that a game that's always advertised on my phone.
Mm,
So I think that's I think that's what you're talking about.
mm,
Okay. They did something similar to that in another game
mm.
on on the computer.
Neopets,
I was
maybe.
trying to think of, well, it was dragons or a kind of dragon.
Oh,
And you could breed the different dragons and get different attributes and different colors and all that other stuff. And so that's
mm,
probably the same thing as that Axie Infinity, something
mm.
similar to that. So
Yeah,
okay. So you want to know, can we breed civilians to get different civilians?
yeah, maybe. I
Maybe.
mean, who knows
Yeah.
what they're thinking? I mean, you breeding two different factions. What does that
Right.
look like?
Right.
Look, there's no real benefit at the moment to factions. It's just merely aesthetic,
Right.
just a bit of lore, that sort of thing.
Right.
Be interested to see what they do.
Yes, it will.
But that's one thing that I'm starting to think now is they've I mean, we've all been seeing things to do with AI development, and in the lore that they had in that civilian deep dive video, and Shane's spoken about this a couple of times before, is that they aren't as self-actualized in their current state, meaning in this
Right.
digital world of Earth 2 civilians, we've created them as landowners, founders, that sort of thing, and they are kind of just doing our bidding.
Okay.
But will they become characters in the world of Earth 2? So I've seen a couple of videos. I think it was a VR setup, and there were a number of NPCs that were utilizing AI and basically conversing with each other. And it was
Oh,
like this automatic party scenario, like you would like basically real life, except these all of these non-player characters were going around talking to each other and forming relationships.
okay.
So will I know, yeah, it sounds intense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't really think we really need that, but
No, no, not necessarily.
I
But what?
we just need to get in game chat. They need to get
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes.
They
Yeah,
need to get that online.
yes, yeah. Um, Look, my hopes and dreams is that there's multiple teams working in the background, and all of these things are just gonna come all at once,
Right,
and it's gonna be huge. Because they spoke about the social media platform that's
right,
being developed for Earth 2 was we spoke about this last time, I think, RGA. So hopefully they're making some headway there.
right.
So let's talk a little bit. Sorry, we got a bit off track there. Yes, social media would be great first and foremostly.
Right,
Let's not worry about AIs talking to each other yet, just yet.
right.
Um, so some strategies.
So what I was thinking and what I'm going to do, I haven't started, I haven't set it up right now, but
Mm,
I've found I started looking for properties, smaller properties. Okay,
mm,
100 tiles, between 150 and 100 tiles that are tier ones.
Hmm.
And then just setting up well, I still do 10 block tiles
Yeah.
per property regardless,
Mm.
whether I put one side droid there or two side droid there. But the thing of it is, most of those properties are uh generating at least like 12 12 14 ETH a day.
Yep.
Okay. And so setting up the side droid to auto raid that with extended times actually works out better, because then you don't have side droids coming back with only 1 or 2 ETH,
Mm.
or getting stuck, because if you take and raid it to the point to where it's empty, then it gets stuck until you do get some ETH. So
It's a good point.
the time frame for dispensing and stuff like this, although I want to get all my civilians ranked up, I don't
Mm.
necessarily worry about them uh, uh, being faster, at least on
Mm.
those particular properties.
Yeah. I think so with the rating multiple targets, if you have, and this doesn't apply to me because a lot of the areas where there is multiple targets, I've got multiple properties. So
Right,
it's yeah, it doesn't work for me there, but there is some rating locations that are either 4 tile or 10 tile, similar to what you're saying, that have got multiple targets around them.
right,
So one strategy you could look at is trying to level up your smaller properties faster, because I think your larger properties, if you've got anywhere from 5 to 10 side routes and they're coming back full, you're going to
right,
level up rather quickly.
right.
So that takes care of itself. But the smaller ones, so if you've got a 4 tile property
Uh-huh.
with one side road, it's only going to bring you back 3 ETH, which is only 300 XP. So you could essentially focus on manualing your smaller properties
Right,
and maybe let your larger ones just do it themselves.
right. So yeah, yes, I have been doing that, and
Mm.
so I don't have anything on auto rating yet. So,
Mm.
but okay, yeah,
Yeah. The one thing I would suggest, so this is another strategy as well.
okay,
So you need to make sure your rating is optimized first and foremostly. So what I mean by optimize is that only have your side droids powered that are returning successful raids to begin with.
yes, I
So
agree.
this then leads into when you are synthesizing your civilians. So currently, when you synthesize them, there's no way of telling on the civilian management page which properties the side droids are powered or depowered. It just says the number of side droids.
Right,
So I've got a number of properties that may not have civilians, but they've got side droids on them. So
right,
the best way to do this, and on mobile, not so easy. It's probably a bit more tedious, but you pull up 2 pages side by side so
uh-huh,
then you can compare. And then with all of your side droids that are, so let your side droids become idle. Sorry, we're circling back a bit to the start of synthesizing civilian, but have the 2 pages side by side and then sort by property size.
right,
And then what that will do on your civilian management and then on your raid on the map, so
uh-huh,
that they should match up.
okay,
So if you're scrolling through your raids, wherever your side roads are idle, that's where you want to put your civilians, and it will
uh,
match up because
okay,
you have 2, 4, 6, 10 properties will show up on the property cards in civilian management.
right,
And then on your raid menu, you'll have 10 properties as well.
right,
That's the quickest way to do it. It took me about 45 minutes to get 416 civilians
Wow.
synthesized. Yeah.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not synthesizing anything near that. Of course, I don't have
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I don't have, I am going to go back after I've got the initial, my initial block set up right now. So
Mm.
I've only got 24 civilians. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and so that's only 7 properties. No, yeah,
Mm.
7 properties. Okay. That I've got civilians set up on. Now, there are properties that I've dropped off or
Mm.
depowered primarily because doing they weren't doing a whole lot. I mean,
Mm.
there was only one side droid on it,
Mm.
and so trying to go through each one of them and multiple pages and stuff like this,
Mm.
and it was hard to keep track of everybody.
Yeah.
Now, some of them were still producing, but they weren't, producing a lot.
Mm.
And so it's possible that with the ability to do multiple ratings, it's possible that I will go back to some of those other properties and reassess them. And
Yeah.
so that could possibly put civilians on there
Mm.
and then start using those properties. Of course, I'll have to take and do some manual rating with it for a while once I get everything other set up. But
Yeah. There's another couple of strategies that
okay,
aren't fully realized yet because of
okay,
certain features. So, one other thing to consider is dual slotting.
right.
So, although you may have side droids depowered, you may still be able to use them with a variety of different jewels to give you a better distance.
I know that those aren't working at the moment
Hmm.
because I've already done. I've got
Yeah.
my properties where I've got side droids that are active. I've slotted the jewels
Mm.
for those different features, and
Mm.
and it doesn't affect them. The only jewels that are affecting them are the builds.
Yes, correct.
Okay, but
Mm.
the distance, the ether uh, cargo bay is not
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah. The storage and
either
the
storage and
speed.
that
Yep.
none of that is being affected by them yet because I've got them slotted already, and then it doesn't affect them. So
Mm.
they haven't got that working yet. But
No, that's right. That's
okay,
the next feature that's
right,
coming up.
right. But it would be good. It is a good idea to get those jewels slotted so
Mm.
that because look at you're going, especially if you're on a tier 1 property.
Mm.
If you got all those jewels slotted,
Mm.
there's also upping up your ether that's coming off that property
Mm.
because they're all tier 3s,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. Um, so that's another strategy that you can look at. So that will be the side droid management. So we can already see that in the raid management page as it is. And then it will be the side droids button that is next to the civilians. That's where we'll be able to slot the side droids with jewels. So the distance one is going to be a big piece to that.
right,
Um, and also consider that with distance, you're not going to be traveling at a faster speed. So it's going to take you longer to get to that property. So people are going to be looking at speed as well,
right.
and perhaps
Oh,
even storage. Maybe something that people look into as well.
I would
Um,
I would think this is just my opinion. I would think
mm,
power,
mm,
the power jewel
mm,
that enhances your power, the
yeah,
speed, and the
hmm,
distance.
yeah, absolutely.
Those threes would
Distance will
be
be the
for
first one
right.
for sure. So then on the flip side of that, you've also got a different strategy.
Okay,
So this sounds kind of almost similar to, I mean, you don't have that many civilians yet, do you? How many did you say? 27?
I got 24.
Okay. Now, there's some players like Drew. If you don't know Drew, he's the guy that has the big world behind his photo.
Right.
Um, and he's not building any civilians at all
Okay.
because, I mean, Nizza is in the same boat. These guys have got really fantastic careers where they are working overnight, but they're actually playing Earth 2 instead of working because their work doesn't it's not as intense. It doesn't
Right.
involve an active participation. You're on
Sure.
standby.
Right.
So I guess you could almost consider that work, and why spend the red energy when you can do it all yourself and get paid for it?
Right. Okay.
Hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be nice. Um, so
Well,
he's able to raid 2,000 ether a day manually.
wow.
Yeah. And then we spoke about Tellus raiding roughly about 8,000 the other day. And then
That's a lot.
Matterhofter from, yeah, it's quite a lot. I mean, I think the most I've got up to is about 2,000. And that was just consistently raiding for a whole day. Um, the wife wasn't too happy about it, but anyway. Um, yeah, and then this other guy from SHP managed to get up to about over 4,000.
Man,
Yeah,
that's a lot of time.
yeah. But when you consider that a lot of these players, they started off when Earth 2 first started, so the first couple of months, and they bought tier one land in areas that other people were buying tier one land.
Right.
So they've already got plenty of targets surrounding them, basically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Whereas some other people like us, we start. Well, you were here early,
Yeah, unfortunately,
but maybe
but I didn't get into it until
yeah,
later.
yeah,
I bought a few properties and then forgot about it for almost
yeah.
a year.
It's funny though. I mean, I joined in July, and it was considered late in 2021. It's now June in 2023, so I'll be coming up 2 years. But I'm
Yes.
still considered late, like 6 months after the inception.
Yes,
Hmm.
I know. I I I I think about what I missed, but anyway,
Yeah,
it's all good. I'm here now and everything's going great. And
yeah,
so
it'll pay off. I mean, there's a lot of work that can be done now that
right.
will contribute towards future goals and things like that. It's not realized just yet,
No,
because of the markets and things like that.
right.
So that's pretty much everything. Could you think of anything else that we haven't thought of in regards to civilians?
No, not at the moment. There's quite a few things we need to wait to see what they do
Mm,
before, with them. But for right now, everything that we covered pretty much covers, I think, would uh, cover everything that people need to know.
yeah, I
So,
think that there was one other thing that I forgot to mention.
okay.
Uh, the Sidroids will have special abilities, and one of those abilities that was spoken about was a Sidroid that had the ability to turn into a mentor.
Oh, I'm waiting for that one.
Yeah,
I,
I mean, consider this, right?
right.
There's two ways that you can build a mentor, and if someone's logging in to check on Earth 2 after not being on there for quite a while, what is the likelihood that they're going to spend 2 weeks logging in daily to produce those mentors on their properties?
They can't. You have one shot at it.
Mm. So
If
you
they
can
didn't,
still buy them
yes,
for fiat,
right.
or you can still do the mentor quest, I believe.
Can you? I thought that was only a one shot deal.
No, the promotion that they had for buying in certain countries was instant mentors if you didn't already have them, but you were still able to complete the mentor quest.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that because I thought that was a,
Yeah.
well, no, what I'm saying though is I thought when you first started, you were
Hmm.
given the option for the mentor quest. Once you bought
Yes.
a property, you were given the
Hmm.
option for the mentor quest.
Hmm.
If you didn't complete it, or you ignored it and didn't go with it, I didn't
Mm.
know that it came back up again or that you got another option for it.
No, it does. I believe it does, but I think the point is a lot of these people probably haven't logged in since they either haven't completed the mentor quest or they just haven't logged in for quite some time. But the
Okay.
point still remains.
Right.
It's 2 weeks worth of
Yes.
logging in. And I'm suspecting that a lot of these people that bought the land aren't really too interested in the mechanics of it. They were more interested in it from an investor's perspective.
Right.
So when we're able to raid those properties is going to be interesting to see how people's strategies have played out and how many people have intentionally set up land near mentalist properties and just waiting for that feature.
I'm one.
Yeah, I've got a couple, but I haven't intentionally sought out land specifically for that.
I haven't either. The couple that I have were just mistakes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've got a really, really nice big property out in the middle of nowhere, but
Mm,
that doesn't have a mentor.
yeah.
I I I was going through and looking at these different properties, and I missed the fact that there was no mentor icon in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many tiny details. It's easy to miss them sometimes.
Right. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
that pretty much wraps it up then.
yes, it does.
But yeah, tell us about your glorious win at the Knights of Malta games yesterday or earlier today.
My glorious win. Yeah, right. I came in
I'm gonna,
last place.
yeah, I'm gonna put up a little video. It's really quite funny to watch your recording too. You,
Yeah.
you just have this grace about your kart driving. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I can drive well. I can drive around well. I just can't hit anybody.
Oh yeah, you drive very safely. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But for everyone that watches this, so we've got a competition in Knights of Malta, which is a part of Knights of Malta games. You can win some prizes up to $400 worth in total, and it's this year we're playing Smash Carts, which is like you could compare it to Mario Kart. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
played that.
Well, I guess you could say it kind of is in the sense
Well,
that you're driving little carts around, but
yeah.
the object is to take and blow everybody else up.
Yes.
Or there's other games like Capture the Flag or Wear the Hat.
Hmm.
And so, but
Yeah.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I had a good time. So yeah, at the moment it stands that Pacey is in first place. Um, I'm in second place, but I mean, I'm not really gonna place as such and take any rewards, because I'd just be giving them to myself, wouldn't I?
Yes. Well, that's both of us. Both of us are just spoilers there. So,
Yeah, that's it. So check out our socials, jump on the Discord, and find out how you can play.
yep. So, well, that
And
ends our show for the week. Thank you for showing up, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
see you all later.